writers! Welcome to a new week in our writing workshop. First, I want to say congratulations for becoming really independent writers in the last week. We love seeing how you were writing more and were developing your characters in your first series. Go ahead and give yourselves a pat in the back and say, "Good job, me." Because you are awesome. You are becoming series writers. Today, I want to teach you that before we close off our first book in our series, we have to make sure that we have introduced the character and some information about the character before we move on to the rest of our series books. So today, we're going to do what good writers do, and we're going to look at different books, different series books, and look at their first book to see what information they gave us about the main characters. Here we have Henry and Mudge and their first series, and we have George and Martha in their first series. Let's stop and think what information the writers gave us about these characters in the first book. If you remember, in George and Martha, we learned a lot about these characters. We learned that Martha is a very kind friend and that she tries new things because in the beginning she was scared of scary movies. And then she decided to go with George, and she found out that she actually likes them. We also found out that George is a very kind friend and invites his friend to the movies. We learned that he thought he liked scary movies, but ends up being a little bit scared about them. We also learned that his best friend is Martha, and that he likes her so much that he has a whole fan club dedicated just for her. Let's see what information we found out about the main characters in Henry and Mudge. We found out that Henry lives in a lonely street, that he has no brothers, no sisters, and that he has no pets, so he's begging his parents to get a pet. And that's how he meets Mudge. Mudge is Henry's pet, and Mudge is a very curious dog. He's so curious that he goes on a walk by himself and ends up getting lost. That teaches both of them that they really love each other and that they don't want to be without each other. So they learn that they must stay together. Now that we know all this information about them, when we go on the next adventure for their book 2, we will know what these characters feel, what are some things that they like, and we will get to know them even more. So Bruins and Highlanders, it's very important that your first book has as much information about the main characters as you can give the reader. Let's use this chart to help us figure out what information our book 1 needs to include before we move on to our second book in the series. Book 1 of a series has who the character is, where the character lives, what the character likes, how the character feels, who the character's best friends are. This is important background information. And if you stop and think, Henry and Mudge and George and Martha give us all of that information. They tell us who the characters are, where they live, what they like, who their best friends are. So I want to check my writing, and I want to make sure that I have included all of this information. Can you help me out with that? Okay, so I'm going to read you my first book, and you're going to go through the checklist and tell me if I have included all that information about the main characters. Ready? Go ahead and get your listening ears ready. And I'm going to read the first book in my writing. One day, Lisa and her dog Sky were playing in the living room when her dad came in and said he had a surprise. Lisa got excited. Lisa's dad tells Lisa to come to the kitchen. Lisa's parents tell her that the surprise is in the backyard. Lisa and Sky run to the backyard. Lisa and Sky run out to see the treehouse. Lisa yells because she's excited. Lisa and Sky run up to the treehouse. After playing for a while, they realize that they want a snack. But there is a problem. They are scared to come down. So let's stop right here and let's go through the checklist and see if I have included all this information that is needed in my first book. Did I include who the character is? Yeah, who's my character? Lisa. Did I tell you where the character lives? I did not. I haven't told you where my character lives. Did I tell you what my character likes? Not really. Did I tell you how my character feels? Yeah, my character feels scared because they can't come down from the treehouse. Did I tell you who my character's best friend is? Sky. So I need to go back and I need to give you information about where my character lives and what the character's like. So watch me as I go back into my writing and I find places in my first book where I could add 2 more details. Okay, so my job right now is that I have to tell you 2 things. I have to include where my character lives and what my character likes. This is the beginning of my story and I can't fit anything else in here. So I'm going to reread and see where I could fit where Lisa lives. One day, Lisa and her dog Sky were playing in the living room when her dad came in and said he had a surprise. Lisa got excited. So before I give you this information, I have to tell you where Lisa lives. I can't fit it here, so I'm going to draw an arrow and I'm going to write it off on the side, and that's okay. So I'm going to start writing here. Lisa lives with her parents. They live in a street close to the park. They have a dog named Sky. Oops, capital because it is a name, capital S. Let me reread what I just wrote and see if it makes sense to start my series this way. Lisa lives with her parents. They live in a street close to the park. They have a dog named Sky. One day, Lisa and her dog Sky were playing in the living room when her dad came in and said he had a surprise. Lisa got excited. Oh my, this sounds way better now that I have introduced the character and where the character lives. So my first job is done. I told you where Lisa lives. Now I need to tell you what Lisa likes. Let me think. Lisa is a little girl and she likes playing with her dog and watching cartoons. So I'm going to include that here too. Lisa lives with her parents. They live in a street close to the park. They have a dog named Sky. Lisa loves to play with her dog Sky. They play fetch. Lisa and Sky love to watch cartoons. All right. Bruins and Highlanders, did I finish my job? Did I tell you where Lisa lives and what Lisa likes? Yes. writers, remember that before you finish your entire first book, you have to make sure that you include all of this information into your first book so that the reader has all this background information on your main characters before we're ready to move on to our second book. So now it's your turn. Go into your writing and check that you have told us who your character is, where the character lives, what the character likes, how the character feels, and who the character's best friends are. Once you have all that information, you will be wrapped up and be ready to start your second series book. Off you go!